So I'm going to call us to order here. And since I don't have my gavel, I was taking TJ's suggestion for more cowbell.
Oh my God.
So I would like to welcome everybody watching on our YouTube screen to what is billed as our regular April 9th school board meeting, but it is obviously not a regular meeting in that sense. I want to say two things before we call the roll, just so that we're clear to everybody out there. This obviously is not the meeting format that any of us would prefer. We are a public body that is supposed to meet in open and public session. We are holding the meeting this way in accordance with a memo that the Attorney General of the state sent out to all public bodies in the state, which permits us to do this under these extraordinary health emergency circumstances. So just so we're clear about that, we have done this in accordance with the Attorney General's advice. The second thing I want to say is that, as people all know, we have a section reserved towards the beginning of our meetings for public comment. The way we'll do that this time is that those of you who are watching, you'll see that there's a comment function that you can type into. And if you have a comment that you'd like to make to the board, I would urge you to do that now, because we will read whatever public comments we have during that section of the agenda. Then we will turn the public comments off. I would also just encourage people, you can always send a letter or a comment that you would like entered into the record to the district, and we are always happy to receive those communications. So with that, by way of preliminaries, can I ask Tammy please to call the roll for us tonight?
Khan.
Here.
Merhemic.
Here.
Ellison.
Present.
McQueen.
Here.
Turner.
Here.
Excellent. The next thing we'll do is to approve the minutes from our March meeting. Do I have a motion, please, for that?
I'll move.
So moved. Or second. Second.
Thank you. Are there any additional comments or editorial corrections that need to be made to the minutes? Seeing no one, let's have call the roll on that, please.
Khan.
Yes.
Merhemic.
Yes.
Ellison.
Yes.
McQueen.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Thank you for that. At this point, I would acknowledge everybody in the room with us, and it's actually kind of sad not to be able to do that. So I'll simply acknowledge any of you at home who are watching this on our live stream. Welcome to our meeting. We'll move into item number 2, our board communications, and I do not believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that we had any communications to share this month. Thank you for that, Stephanie. So now we will go into part 2.2, our community comments. And so, Stephanie, I'm going to ask you to handle the duties here if there are public comments to be read at this point in our meeting.
Okay, we've got, YouTube has about a little delay, but at this time, I do not see any chats coming through.
Okay.
Let me just confirm that Thomas also is not seeing any. No comments.
No comments. Okay. Well, thank you. And let me just reiterate again, if there is a comment that you'd like to make to the board or to the district, do please send them along via email, and we will make sure that they are entered in properly. It's an extraordinary circumstance not to be able to do this publicly and live. So let's move now to agenda item 2.3, our administrative reports. And it's wonderful to see both our principals there. It's been a while since I've seen you in person, Jack and Matt, so it's great to see you. What can you tell us?
All right. I'm happy to go first. So what's been happening is we've been in this really strange place of not being able to be face to face with our students, and we're moving through our third week of non-traditional instruction. So I'm really proud of our teachers for quickly, especially a lot of our younger elementary teachers, quickly creating an online space. It's either Google Classroom. Most of the students are using Google Classroom, but kindergarten is using something called Seesaw. And they had to figure out how to, establish this. And there's been support. There's been a lot of great support, from coaching, but also internally. And they've created these spaces. They've reached out to their students. We've got 99% of our kids on these online platforms now, and we're really trying to do something unique and Yellow Springs like for them. Carrie helped to bring out the Inquire Ed curriculum that we started this week, which has been it's been a good thing for our kids. It's more of a inquiry-based model where they're exploring why, where they are in time and place, basically. So there's a lot of interaction, and it's been kind of a heavy lift, but a learning time for everyone, a time where we could all do something new. And one of the things that we're really finding that's super important, not just with our students, but with our teachers, is staying connected. And you can't stay connected when you're just emailing back and forth. So we've been doing a lot of videos. We've been doing Google Meet for staff meetings. Teachers are taking that forward with their students so they can meet in real time and not just see their teachers' faces, but see their friends and be able to interact with other students. And I know that that's been something that's really been helpful for folks to feel more normal, to feel connected. So that's been really important, the video piece of this whole thing. The curriculum, it's really different to deliver a curriculum online, but without the human element, it doesn't work very well. So that's something that's been really important. And I know that some of our teachers are doing kind of small group meetings where they can meet with a cluster of 5 to 8 students, so that it's even more personal. So we're exploring lots of different ways to make this format work. And then, another big piece of this is just getting the tech out to families that need it. So there's been a lot of 3 waves of Chromebook distribution. We had the first one, and then we didn't catch everyone, so we had another one. And just yesterday, I was there kind of handing out a few more. Some folks that didn't have internet connection, we were able to give hotspots. So the district purchased hotspots because we knew that there would be a need there of not having any kind of internet access. So just really, as a district and as a school, we're coming together just to figure this thing out and really make sure that we're supporting our students. And I applaud everyone in the district. There's a lot of collaboration. There's a sense of teamwork. We're just day by day talking and figuring out where the needs are and trying to respond as quickly as possible.
Right. Yeah, I can't even imagine. Are there things that anybody want to ask Matt some further follow-up questions about any of this?
Yeah. Oh.
Let me go to TJ first, and then Steve.
I raise my hand. No, I just want to say I've been super impressed with the amount of connectivity from the teachers to the students. Maybe much to the groaning of especially my 12-year-old, but it's been fantastic. I'll walk out in the morning and already my 9-year-old's on a Zoom meeting or a Google Classroom holding up a cat, but they're getting connected with all of her peers. So it's really great. I mean, that's been an awesome effort, and I wouldn't have believed it would have worked as well as it's been doing. So thanks, guys. Appreciate the effort.
Thank you, TJ.
And hello. I just wanted to know if we definitely know that we've reached every kid that doesn't have it. If not, are we definitely making sure that is getting attended to?
I can speak to that, Steve. So what's happened is, it's not, you can't just reach everybody through email. We've been physically calling all the families. that we haven't heard from. And one of the great things about Google Classroom is you can see when kids have joined. They have an invitation, and then you can see that they're part of the classroom and they start interacting. So those kids that haven't joined, we've been emailing and calling. And I can tell you that there's probably just 3 or 4 that we have not been able to reach. And really the next step is to try to do a home visit or somehow, because we can't get them through the phone, we can't get them through email, and we just want to make sure that they're okay, but also that they're connected with their friends and what we're trying to do. So we are, like I said, about 99%, but there are still just a few kids. And I don't think it's at this point a tech issue. I think it's something else. So that's why we're trying to reach out and figure out what's going on with those families.
Appreciate that, Matt.
Yeah, that's great, and really important. And thank you for that. Anything else for Matt? All right, Jack, why don't you take it away then?
All right, thank you. I want to echo a lot of what Matt said. You know, it's just an odd time, and it's something that I think when we look back, we'll be a better district and a better community for going through this together. So just to see the learning and growth and the risks that our students are taking, the risks that our staff's taking, I think it will really help us in the long run. I want to really start off today, though, just thanking our students. So, you know, our kids did not sign up for e-instruction or an online school. So to be thrust into that, and the idea that I still remember when I took my first online class, I was in college, and how difficult it was just learning that, and then to think that kids are thrown into that for all of their instruction. I think that's a big challenge for them. And then also to think how much our kids have given up. So for our high school kids and our seniors in particular, you know, it's spring semester, and this is normally when we see senioritis really setting in, and our seniors want to just kind of hit cruise control and coast, and everything that they've worked so hard for to have that kind of predictability and comfort is now gone. And then for so many of our kids, they were looking forward to their senior track season, their senior tennis season, their senior baseball season, softball season, senior prom. You know, you can just kind of go on, and you look at these things, so many of our kids that bring value to so many of our kids' school experiences that have been taken away. And the Ohio High School Athletic Association still really trying to hold on to the sports thing, but you know, it really looks like it's just a matter of time until that becomes official that they cancel the spring seasons. But so just I want to empathize with our kids and what they're going through, kind of this time of losing the connectedness when the senior class generally really starts to bond and come together and form that one cohesive unit that they will kind of leave high school with. They've lost that opportunity because they're not in the same area, the same proximity to school together, and then just all those other bonding experiences. And then on top of that, the idea of having to transition to a completely new learning style. My hats are just off to them and the work that they're doing. We are working hard behind the scenes to make sure our seniors are comfortable with where they are in terms of graduation. So we are committed to having some sort of graduation ceremony. We don't know when that will be or what that will look like, but we want to make sure our seniors understand where they are. And with the new legislation that came out regarding kind of the leniency piece around seniors and some of the stuff that seniors needed this last quarter to be able to graduate that they just can't get because we either didn't have testing or like for us, we have community service requirements, we have senior project requirements, and some of those things, it's just not safe and realistic for our kids to be doing those. So Mr. Smith, Ms. Morano, and I have been going through senior by senior, and we created a decision tree so that we could apply that new legislation fairly across all of our seniors. And then we created a senior checklist where we went through every senior individually to determine exactly what they still needed to do. And then we are making phone calls to each individual senior to say, this is where you are and this is what you need to do. That way seniors know if their community service is going to be waived. They know if their senior projects are going to be waived. They know, if they still have a flex credit that they have to finish up. We just want them to know exactly where they are so that it's not creating kind of an additional layer of stress for them. And And then the next piece is just moving on into the teacher side. Again, the teachers, it's the same thing. Everything that they've known and they've worked for and been trained in is changing. And it's just a huge shout out to them. With us as a district K-12 going to Inquire Ed provides material for kindergarten through roughly 5th grade, but they don't provide it really at the middle school and high school level. So for our teachers, they got this information on a Wednesday, and by Friday afternoon, we had really cohesive units planned for 7th and 8th grade, 9th and 10th grade, and 11th and 12th grade. So just the idea, I saw Zoom sessions and sat in on Zoom sessions until 9 p.m. I saw emails going all weekend, including, Sunday night at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. So just the work that they did and the risk that they're taking. So many of our teachers are trying new things tech-wise. And even philosophically, our teachers have really been challenged to think about grading differently, to think about instruction differently. So I want to commend the teachers for their flexibility during this and just their willingness to jump in and I guess question things in a really great way to say, is this right? And making sure that it is. But then once they have that belief, really buying in completely and building something great for our kids.
Thank you, Jack. I think it's terrific, especially the way you've hustled around seniors and getting them sorted so that they don't get bitten with graduation problems, since all of that has changed so fast and is still in flux to some extent. I wanted to just push on that a little bit to wonder if there are any thoughts about a graduation. I suspect that an in-person graduation might not be possible. I know some colleges and universities are trying to think about how to do a virtual graduation. Are we there yet?
So we are kicking around ideas, but we have not landed on anything. We're kind of waiting. We're really still about 7 weeks out until we would have had our graduation. So we have a couple ideas, but we don't want to commit to anything until we really see how DeWine, assuming that he ends the school year differently than us returning. We want to see kind of when that is and what that looks like before we make a decision. So we're looking at a couple different things from, celebrating our seniors online through social media and kind of recognizing them that way, starting relatively soon rather than waiting until graduation. But then once we know what the end of the year looks like and when it's going to be, then I think we want to jump in and make sure that we're doing what we can. Worst case scenario, maybe in the fall, we're bringing our seniors back and doing a commencement, but I think we want to try to be creative and give our seniors what they deserve.
Great. Sylvia, I see you have your hand up.
Hi. Yes. I know that it's going to be repetitive, but I think it's something that you can't say too much right now. So really, to both the buildings and both the principals and all the other admin and leadership and all the teachers and all the students, this is really, really hard. And I know everybody's really doing their best without having been able to plan ahead at all. And that it's wonderful to see that. It's wonderful to see the evidence of that in our district, watching the communication and the public coverage of it, and living a little bit of it with one college kid trying to switch to things virtually that don't really fit, and a 19-year-old at the Career Center who only does lab stuff and doing all that virtually, and a teacher in the family. I just think all the teachers and all the students, everyone's on the honor roll fourth quarter. It's just, amazing what everyone is stepping up and trying to do. So thank you all so much.
Hear, hear. Other questions or comments for Jack and/or Matt? Okay. Well, thank you, both of you, for those reports, but also just for the unbelievable heavy lift that you guys have been doing for the last several weeks now. Let's move to item 3 on the agenda, and that's our treasurer's report. Tammy, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, this is going to be somewhat normal. And this is the report for the district as of the end of March 31st, 2020. And so far, we've completed 75% of the year. And if you look at the, we've got the second page of the cash flow. This has actuals through March, and then has 3 months of projections. And then the next page just has March, and this is just for general fund. And you can see what the budget to the actual is for the month of March. And then the next page, I want to get into a little bit more. And this is basically for 9 months out of the fiscal year. And you can see that on the revenue side, we are running ahead of projections. Our property tax came in ahead of projections. Our tangible personal property came in ahead of projections. Our unrestricted state grants, which is the state foundation, that's ahead of projections. The property tax allocation, now that's just a timing difference. But I'm assuming that the actual will be very close to budget. And then the all other revenues, which is mostly our open enrollment, is ahead of projections. The one thing that is not is the income tax. And that has been throughout this whole year, it's been behind projections. And there was a one-time event several years ago, and now that's just filtering through. And that's one of the reasons why our income tax revenue is going down for this year. So overall, on the revenue side, we're looking very well. And then on the expenditure side, as you can see, we are under budget in practically every category on the expenditure side. So when you put those two together, our cash balance is $176,000 more than what I anticipated it would be at this point of time, in this year. And, Terry and I have been very deliberate with the purchases we've made. We've been going through, we're still going through all of our contracts and our purchases to make sure that it's what we feel is best for the district. And then the other parts of the report, we have what it looks like for the 9 months as compared to the entire fiscal year. And then we have the graphs. Where does the money come from? Where does it go? And all the normal categories. And that looks pretty standard for a school district. And then we also have other graphs. The percentage of the revenue, same information, different format. And then the percentage spent. And then we have the reconciliation. So overall, with all the funds in the district, we have just a little over $7 million. And then we have the detail on all the funds. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. And you may well have the distinction of being the only person to deliver a lot of happy news for us in this meeting.
I know it's very unusual for me to deliver.
Right, exactly. No, it's terrific. And right. So we have some revenues that have come in beyond expectation, but it's also a testament, I think, to the way you and Terry are handling the finances, that our expenditures are also leaner, meaner, more efficient, and that's terrific. Are there questions for Tammy about this report? I do not see anyone's hand up. I look around my screen here. Okay, well then let's move into the financial portion of the consent calendar. This will be items 4.1 and 4.2. Do I have a motion for those, please?
I'll move.
Second.
Go ahead, Tammy, for the explanation.
For the first one is for the appropriation increases. We did receive 2 grants, which is the $2,450. And then for the $26,000 in the general fund, we needed to put some more money into the maintenance budget. So that's what that consists of. And then on 4.2, for the approval of the attorneys, I'm requesting that you approve Scott Scriven, LLP. And these are the attorneys that help with real estate, property, if you have board of revision complaints, and then also if you're buying or selling, or if you're doing anything else with land or property. And I've worked with them before in the past. So they're very knowledgeable about what they do.
Great. Questions about these two items? Call the roll, please.
Mayor Hemick,
Sorry, I did raise my hand. I was a little delayed. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, just want to ask about you're utilizing the attorney, and you said that you've worked with him previously or them previously. Are there specifics in regard to why you would choose them versus people we already have on board with us? Just out of curiosity.
yeah, basically, when we were looking at working with Agraria, I just picked up the phone and called them. I knew that they were, familiar with going through auctions and property issues.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I was just curious where they came from and so forth.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, I missed you there, Aida. It popped
No,
up a
I
little bit late.
was a little slow on the
Right.
getting my hand up.
Right. It's kind of like playing Hollywood Squares here, Now let's call the roll.
Mayor Hemick,
Yes.
Ellison,
Yes.
McQueen,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Khan.
Yes. Okay, well, thank you again for that, Tammy. And now let's move on to item 5 of the agenda, the superintendent's report. Terry, take it away.
Thank you. Board, in my update, I want to echo comments that Matt and Jack made simply about what's going on now. I don't think any of us in our wildest dreams would have come up with this. But here we are. I made a goal to communicate with families regularly, and so I'm sticking to that about on a once a week basis. We talked this morning about not overwhelming parents and families with all of these one calls and videos and emails, but I'm committed to keeping parents informed. I was waiting for the governor to say something today, but all he said was his plan is coming. So I expect that news next week. But I want to talk a little bit about academics, because this has been this is what has weighed, in addition to the health piece, weighed heavily on my mind, because I believed from the beginning that academics should not be our primary focus, because there are many other more important things going on right now. But we're charged with continuing education during this time. And so the question is, how do we do it? Because we know that there's not a one-to-one translation with time. So I worked hard with the principals and the teachers to really think about what can we do that makes the learning at home consistent. So if I'm a parent that has children at different grade levels, we're all working really kind of on the same thing, but it's developmentally appropriate and engaging. And so that's how we landed on Inquire Ed. It fits our PBL model. The biggest lift, as Jack said, is really at the middle school and high school level, where they have to take these themes. And so the whole overarching theme of Inquire Ed during this time is together when apart. How do we stay connected, et cetera? How do we be together while we're apart? And so each week they push out an essential question. That's PBL language. And so the essential questions are broad, and they're designed to be interdisciplinary. And there's kind of a task for each day, none of which requires a lot of time, but it does allow for great creativity, great exploration on students' part, provides opportunity for a lot of engagement. So at the secondary level, we had to think about how do we take these themes and kind of wrap our work around that. So Jack grouped all of the teachers into teams, and so students aren't even in their regular classes now. And to be honest, we weren't sure how this was going to go. Conceptually, I'm like, this is a great idea. in reality, I'm like, please, I hope this works. And so I was looking at some of the work that students, particularly I was looking at juniors and seniors. And this first week, the essential question was, where am I in time and place? And so this teacher team had students take that, do a mini Pecha Kucha, and really examine historical artifacts. So from the past to the present, where am I? If I look at this picture, this photo from perhaps 1918 in the Spanish flu, how does that represent a point in time? And then, take that to today. How does this, whatever image I have, how does this represent where I am at a point in time? So I was pretty impressed with that. But the theme is consistent K-12, and Matt mentioned Seesaw, so we're using Google Classroom for all of our classes. When teachers meet with students, they meet via Google Meet because it is much safer and secure than Zoom for children. But at K2, we're using Seesaw, which is like Google Classroom. And so if you have an opportunity, you should have Mr. House show you some of the kindergarten classes, because it is adorable and the kids are learning and sharing back with their teachers. So that's been a real bright spot. So it might look easy, but I'm going to tell you it was a heavy lift for teachers because we are not trained for this. We weren't prepared for this. As Jack said, students didn't sign up for this. But we're doing that really to say, hey, we're going to keep you engaged in learning. But we also recognize that learning doesn't necessarily occur in school, and some would argue that the best learning occurs out of school, right? So how do we capture this and make it meaningful for kids and not so burdensome for parents? So that's why we made all of the decisions we did about academics. One thing this has, two things really this has caused me to start thinking about. One is this equity issue. And so Steve McQueen, I'm glad you asked the question about how do our families have access to technology, not only devices, but connection. And that's important because I think sometimes we make assumptions. And in times like these, you really start to see the divide, the opportunity gap and the equity gap. But it also has me thinking about when this is over, when we come out on the other side of this, how are we going to use this to really see what we do in a different way? How are we going to use this maybe to reframe how we view schooling in Yellow Springs? So I think it's really a test for us, but I have nothing but praise for teachers, our support staff, our administrators, and last but absolutely not least, our students and parents and families who have really supported our approach and are making it work. I will say that our students who are heavily engaged in College Credit Plus courses and AP courses, we're going to honor that work, and so that's how they're going to remain engaged for the rest of the year because those organizations are not pulling back on that. And then finally, this is not in my written report, but I did want to say food delivery. We are continuing with food delivery. We started initially with mainly a volunteer staff, a lot of staff members, but mainly volunteer. And now we've transitioned to our staff and we've kind of reassigned some work duties. So for those who can, we're using our buses and our instructional assistants and some of our building secretaries. So if you see a Yellow Springs bus out on Tuesday morning or Friday morning, know that they're on a very important mission. So, and that's my update.
Thanks for that, Terry. Yeah, I mean, just extraordinary to think. It seems much more than a month since we were all sitting in our boardroom having a meeting, and this was vaguely in the air a little bit, and we started to ask some questions about, well, gee, should we do some planning here? Do we need to have a contingency? And a month later, here we are. Could you just remind everybody what the drill now is about testing of various kinds?
Mm-hmm. So the governor, I must give Governor DeWine some props here. I think he has really pushed the Ohio Department of Education to really make changes that would support the governor and the health director's plan to help us get through this. So there is no state testing this year. So all of that has been lifted. There is no, I think ACT and SAT have kind of said for a while there will be no testing, and I know some colleges, not all, have kind of rolled with that decision and said we're not going to use testing perhaps for some admissions decisions. The only two pieces where we still will be testing, well, CCP is not really a test. Those schools generally are saying to our students, finish up. Some have gone to pass fail, but others, and it's a small number, are saying that no, we need you to finish this out on a graded system. But the only test that's really occurring are the AP exams. So the College Board has said that AP will still have tests this year, and normally they're multi-hour, highly secure. They've apparently tweaked the test so that it now covers only content through 3 quarters. It can be done online at home. To that end, we've actually given our students a choice. You can choose to take this, and then, we're going to honor that. Students have put in a lot of time. Students and teachers have put in a lot of time all year, but that really is the only test that is happening.
Thank you for that. Questions or other comments here? Aida, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I don't want to be redundant either, but I, do want to take an opportunity to extend my personal appreciation for what everybody is doing to help get through this, whatever that means, whatever that looks like. And I'm just aware I've always been a believer that education, teaching, and learning is a very intimate process, and that we've been thwarted here in tremendous ways. But I also believe that, this creates an opportunity in terms of trying to figure out how to maintain that connectivity that you referred to a couple times, Tammy, as well as, it's ironic to me that, the last year, 2 years, the focus has a lot been on social emotional learning, and to feel like the rug has been pulled out from under us around that. I also have the sense that it is an opportunity to rally together and really strive to put into place what you've all been focusing on, teaching our kids, and the teachers trying to work with each other collaboratively. So again, I just want to offer my appreciation and my, really solid sense that everybody is really trying hard to support each other through this. So thanks.
Jack, did you have something?
Yeah, I wanted to commend Dr. Holden and her leadership in all of this. When this started back in early March, she was well ahead of the game. So I just want to commend her and kind of the timeliness, and that, we as a district, we were ahead of the curve as well compared to a lot of the other local districts. And I think it really helped us make that transition as smoothly as it could possibly go.
Thank you.
Hear, hear.
Thank you.
Other comments on the superintendent's report? Okay, well, again, thank you for that, Terry. Let's move now to item 6 on the agenda, which is the administrative portion of our consent calendar, and that's items 6.1 through 6.7. A motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Good, thank you. Terry, what things do we need to know?
A lot of this will be pretty quick. The board policies, it's a first read for open enrollment. That's really the only new piece. We had to bring our policy into alignment with the revised code. So we had to identify the date by which we would let parents know of our decision to accept open enrolled students, and then the date we would let superintendents of those districts where those students resided, the date we would let them know. So that will bring us, that will bring our policy into alignment. And then the second read, the addendum to the emergency plan. You know, you had this on the agenda last month, and there was a limit to the number of days. This just says, and we were directed to do this, you know, we can use this distance learning for this entire pandemic period. Clark County ESC for technology coaching. So I was able to secure a coach through Clark County to support our teachers. And this was done very quickly. And so I'm so appreciative of their support and of Matt Gerbrick's willingness to serve us, because we were asking our teachers to have such a heavy lift with technology that they need to have some support. So if you have an opportunity and you go to our website under non-instructional or non-traditional instruction, you know, you can click on that and see all of the technology that our teachers are using and getting support on. So that's what that contract is. Greene County contract is our yearly contract. I will say at this point, that's what we're going with, but it's likely to change in the future a little bit either way, because it's been hard to connect since everyone's been dealing with this. So as we kind of look at that, but that's typical each year at this time. CC Plus Memorandum of Understanding for Wright State that we did not have it last month. And then finally, a resolution that allows us to do exactly what we're doing. We don't need it, but it probably is a good thing to do in a public meeting. Pass this resolution.
Yep. Comments or questions about any of these items? Let's call the roll then, please.
Ellison.
Yeah.
McQueen.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Khan.
Yes.
Mayor Hemick.
Yes.
Thank you for that. And now we'll move on to item 7, the personnel portion of the consent calendar. That's items 7.1 and 7.2.
Okay, so
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me get a motion for that, please.
So moved. Second.
Okay, who motioned?
Sylvia. Aida second.
Okay.
okay. Schedule D is employment of coaches and class advisor that was just missed last month. So that's why that's on there. Schedule G and H are about FMLA and unpaid leave. And I just want to make a very important point here, particularly with the FMLA. The dates there are prior to March 16th. And that's important because there have been a lot of legal changes about FMLA after that date. So this is prior to that. And then Schedule I is what we do every year at this time, and it is non-renewal of all of our extracurricular and supplemental contracts as required by law.
Thank you for that. Questions? Do I see any hands up? Okay, then call the roll, please.
McQueen.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Khan.
Yes.
Mayor Hemick.
Yes.
Ellison.
Yes.
Thank you for that. And now we'll get to the last item, item 8 on our agenda, board communications. Mr. McQueen, what can you tell us about the Career Center?
Oh, well, due to circumstances, we had to open our monthly meetings. We pushed it back so that if we need to, we can push it back to every other month in cases like this. That way, we're not forced to have to meet with one another if there's no real need to. Once again, it's still in just emergency cases, as well as unfortunately, adult classes also even had to be suspended until May 4th, which was very inconvenient, especially for the police classes. I guess that was a very big deal for us. But beyond that, we're just sort of waiting this all out. And that concludes my report.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Aida.
Yeah, Steve, I was just curious how the building project is being impacted, if it is being impacted by all of this.
Sorry. So, building has been impacted in certain ways and not impacted in other ways. Construction clearly has to slow down because of distancing. But it has continued. But because now most of the building is inside, it has slowed down tremendously. Like now, when we went to visit, it was still very open. It's no longer open, and a lot of the construction is indoors. So they sort of have to section it off. But
That makes sense.
Right. So it's only slowed it down, in which they can only work on certain sections with the limit of people in certain places.
Gotcha.
But it's still continuing.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
Yeah.
Other board member items? Anything that people want to share? Well, let me jump in. And again, at the risk of a kind of piling on, I want to express the board's thanks to the district staff, starters, Terry and Tammy, who have continued to steer this ship with remarkable skill. I also want to make sure that Stephanie and Thomas Young are acknowledged here, who are making the tech, making this meeting possible. They have, Thomas in particular has now been pressed into service in ways that he wasn't expecting, making all of this tech run. And he's not somebody you generally see around the district. So thank you so much to the both of you and to the rest of the district office staff, Kara, and so forth, who are paying the bills and running the show and keeping everything moving ahead, even as all this other crazy business has been unfolding. So yes, to the teachers as well. Yeah, I too have been adjusting to online teaching, and I'm doing considerably less well at it than you all are. So I really, I appreciate so much what you're doing. And yeah, to families in our district, thank you for pulling together in the ways that we all have. So that's what I wanted to say. Seeing no other hands raised, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Let's call the roll on that, please.
Turner,
Yes.
Khan,
Yes.
Mayor Hemick,
Yes.
Ellison,
Yes.
McQueen.
Yes.
Well, we are out, and maybe next time we'll be in the room. Maybe next time we'll be back on your screen, but one way or another, thank you all again for attending.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Be well.
Bye.
Thanks.
Yeah, stay
Stay
safe.
healthy. Stay safe.
Thank you, Steve.